Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Run Yogi Diaries. This is your host Santosh Shiva. I hope you had a wonderful week and you had some time to play, to hike, bike, run, swim, whatever is your thing. And today in the house, I have Bipul Talukdar, a extremely accomplished ultra runner from the Bay Area. And he's someone we know is the only person who's done the um, Triple Crown for 200 milers, at least amongst the South Asian, Indian community in America, which is pretty cool. Setting new standards and raising the bar as far as endurance is concerned among the community. So we get behind the scenes. We ask him what motivates him, what are his secret hacks that gets him going on these amazingly difficult races. And by the way, if you like these conversations, kind of guests I bring on the show, both personal journeys as well as practitioners in different arenas for well-being and endurance, please do subscribe to this channel. Share this podcast with others you think can gain from the knowledge of people on the show, and leave your comments and let us know what you think, what you took away, and if there's something else we can add, do more in this channel. This podcast is available on all audio podcast platforms if audio is your thing, in addition to be on YouTube. Hi people, welcome to Run Yogi Diaries.
Hi, Santosh. Thank you.
Finally get to speak with you. I know we've been talking to each other for a while, back and forth, and so here we are.
Yeah, we are here now.
Yep. So hey, it's such a pleasure having you on board and have this conversation. I was looking at your resume in the endurance sports, which is something that's amazing, and that everybody should really be aware of. Uh, so you're probably the first person of Indian origin, if I may say that, who's done the Triple Crown in ultras last year in 2021, which is essentially three 200 milers, Triple Crown and 200 milers in a matter of I think 3 or 4 months window. And you also did the Cocodona 240 last year. So you've been running quite a bit in 2021, and so incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. My friends were telling me my racing miles were more than my training miles. That's not a great compliment, but that's how it had been.
Well, okay. So yeah, so that's quite amazing, and we're gonna dig into how you got there. And I see that you've been what in ultras for more than 10 years. Done 59 plus ultras as per ultra sign up, and so you've been running quite seriously for a while. And originally from Assam in India, right?
That's correct.
Work in the tech industry, live in the Bay Area, married. What else? Did I miss something?
No, you covered pretty much all.
Terrific. Cool. So again, I think what we can do is do a bit of a flashback, right? Here we are. In the starting scene is you've done these four 200 milers. That's kind of incredible. Let's get into a bit of a backstory. How did it all start for you? When did it start?
Right. It's very interesting. Like, I never had interest in running, really. And so, however, I had this fascination for, Iron Man and all that. And we have our local Bay Area pioneer like Rajiv Char. You heard
Uh
about him
huh.
probably. So he was one of the coaches of TeamAsha as well. TeamAsha, like it's an organization run by primarily Indian community. across the
Mhm.
globe, and they raise funds for underprivileged children in India. So they
Mm.
had this program going, like, run a marathon and run a half marathon to start with. And so
Mm.
I had this bucket list item, right? Running a marathon. Everybody has one. I mean, some people do
Mm.
it, some do not. But more of like, I wanted to be an Iron Man, like Rajiv Sar. That's
Oh,
why I
nice.
went to a kickoff meeting. It happened in Sports Basement in Sunnyvale in 2011, July sometime.
Wow.
That's when all started, and I was really fascinated by the story of TeamAsha, how they help, having schools for underprivileged children, running them in
Mhm.
India, and great cause to do something, right? So
Right.
I joined there, and it all started over there. I learned how to run there from 2 miles onwards. Because I could only run 2 miles on a treadmill before that.
Mm.
And yeah, then I got half marathon, and so forth.
Awesome. And were you a swimmer? Did you are you a swimmer?
No, that's the thing. So I was never a swimmer. I did not know how hard swimming is. So, I wanted to be Iron Man, and I went to learn swimming as well, not part of the program, but on the
Uh,
side. But I failed every time, and I'm failing till today. And that's something I'm keeping for later now. Like, I'm
mhm.
thinking, okay, now that I'm getting better, a little bit better at something like running, let me get to some amount of satisfactory performance at this, or results. And I'm thinking I'll probably engage in swimming at some time, and live up the dream of being an Iron Man one day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I kind of did my first triathlon last year in 2021, and like everyone, my biggest fear was swimming, and especially swimming in open water.
Right.
And so I broke through that, and we will have a conversation about this after the podcast.
Absolutely.
Some,
I have funny stories around it. We'll talk about it.
all right, all right, yeah, we should have you do an Iron Man and get you back in the podcast after that again.
I cannot guarantee you that, but I will try.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So here we are, right? You started wanting to do an Ironman, and then you went on this huge journey of running, and I think your humility is quite what do you call your humility is quite impressive, because um, with the kind of work you've done, you still feel that you need to do more, which is good in a way, because it keeps propels you to keep doing more. So yeah, so how did 2 mile run and wanting to do a marathon? Tell us about it. When was your first marathon?
It was in Napa, I think 2012.
Hmm.
The Napa Marathon, that was my first. And it was an interesting story. At the finish line, all cramping up, lying down on the ground. Oh my God, it was something. But first time is first time. I would
Yeah,
always remember that. Anything you do first, you always remember. And
yeah,
that's something to cherish for life, for sure.
yeah, yeah. And then what happened after that? So you did the fast marathon. Did the marathon
Right.
bite you, or what happened after that?
Yeah. So right after doing the first marathon, in couple of days from there, I went to a track in Campbell, and my other coach, Coach Raman at that time, who is a great endurance activist locally again, and and a preacher in the area. And so he told me that, hey, you know what, there is this 50-kilometer run in Route Anderson, so that's Lake Merced near San Francisco, and that's in
Hmm.
about a week from the marathon, or maybe 2 weeks, I don't
Mhm.
exactly remember. Then I thought, okay, that marathon is 26 mile, and this one is 50-kilometer, like 31 miles or so, not too much of a distance, so
Hmm.
maybe I can go. So and I kind of recovered. That time I was about 37, 38 year old, and the recovery was
Hmm.
faster than now, at least. So I recovered, and then I went with the flow. I went there and ran the Route Anderson 50-kilometer. Yeah, and I loved it. And my goal was to kind of beat my marathon PR in the 50K, and I did that. And
Hmm.
then I was happier. So okay, so 31 mile was not too bad. So that's how it went onwards further. So I ran my, I think, 50 mile in 2013 at Avalon 50 miler in Catalina Island in near LA.
Hmm.
And that's a great island also to visit. I and my wife, we went there, we had a great stay. Next day morning there is this 50-mile run, and I absolutely enjoyed that. And then on, like, I could say, okay, 50-mile done, maybe I can call myself a ultra marathoner now, I mean, in the real sense. Then some people argue, okay, until you do 100 mile you are not a real ultra marathoner, that's when it's all budded. Then I thought, oh my god, 50 mile felt harder. Double that distance, not possible, not gonna happen. And that's
Mhm.
when I kind of started indulging in discussion of more longer runs. Anil Rao, you know him, so
Yeah.
he came into the picture. He ran 100 mile, and I looked up to him, talked to him, learned things. And then eventually I ran in 2014 my first 100 miler, Rio
Wow.
del Lago 100 miler. The
So, like in
2013
matter
to
of
2000,
2 years, in just two
yeah,
years.
yeah. Yeah, now I think that I should not have taken 2 years. I Because that time my mind was not strong enough. It was just a
Hmm.
nurturing thing, right? I mean, it's I was building it. It will not should not take 2 years just to finish the 100 miler. It will take
Hmm.
longer to do a great job in there, but
Hmm.
just to finish, I would not say the 50 mile to 100 mile it should take 2 years if you are
Hmm.
training good. Maybe a year it should take, because once you do 50 miler, if your mind is strong, you can do 100 miler, you can turn into it,
Hmm.
you can finish it. I mean, not saying you will run a sub 2400 or something. And yeah.
Interesting. So, are you someone who is very focused by nature? I mean, something like starting to run a marathon and then to 50 mile and then 100 mile obviously requires a certain level of dedication and, change in
Right,
lifestyle, right?
right, it does.
And so that's usually where people struggle, right, in scaling. And in 2 years, you scaled, which means that there probably has been a huge change in your lifestyle from prior to running. So is that something that comes naturally to you, or did you have to kind of was that something that you had to work on?
Yeah, once I set my goal at something, I
Hmm.
normally kind of put my energy towards it properly,
Hmm.
like especially the mind. And because I believe in two aspects primarily. One is setting your mind right, and then
Hmm.
having your physique at the optimum shape so that your mind can drive it right.
Hmm.
So I normally say about that, it's my word, that building your toolbox.
Hmm.
So basically, the toolbox is basically, having your physical side of ready,
Hmm.
physical side of you getting it ready. Like, it could be nutrition, it could be,
Hmm.
strength training, and it could be, discipline, and of course the prioritization, because we are in a family people.
Hmm.
And priority should be set right, and the expectation needs to be set right with the family, so that you don't have problem executing your
Hmm.
what is called timetable. Right,
Right.
I mean, so that's what it is. Once all these things fall in place, I think nothing can stop you at what you want
Hmm.
to achieve.
And that's something that comes naturally to you. This organizing, creating the toolkit.
Yeah, I get a high out of it. Like,
Okay.
training is my high in
Hmm.
general.
Hmm.
If it is hard, like, if
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
goal is hard, then training is really a high for me. If the
Yeah.
goal is something I feel that not so challenging, then probably I will not train right, and I will not do very well also in the activity. So that's me. That's how
Hmm.
I am wired.
Hmm. And in terms of methodologies, or how did you know how to build this volume of running? Did you use a was you do you have a coach, a book? Did somebody inspire you? How did
Yeah,
you decide
so
that?
various things at various times. So I am not stuck at one thing kind of person. I
Hmm.
experiment a lot. Like, before getting into serious ultra running, I read a book, Eat and Run, right? I think, yeah, that was the one, by Scott
Yeah.
Jurek. The Scott
Yes. Hmm.
Jurek. Okay, after reading that book, I became vegan for 3.5 years
Oh.
right away,
Hmm.
right? So that book had a lot of impact on me, like how
Hmm.
mind, how nutrition can sense things, and the prowess of the mind can sense things,
Hmm.
right? And so I follow Scott Jurek till today, and I believe he's one of my great athletes I follow.
Yeah.
And and the nutrition part I really learned from that book.
Hmm.
You have to know your body, you have to know your nutrition, you have to set it right, and it can be different for different persons.
Hmm.
So yeah.
So you're still vegan?
No, I'm not. So
Hmm.
I apparently, once our a child was born, it was very hard in the family to do multiple different kind of food, and
Yeah.
given that we all have to work, you know and at that point of time I just stopped being a vegan, but started to select food that's not bad enough,
Hmm.
and and indulge accordingly, basically, but still try to
Yeah.
maintain good food habit. But it's
Hmm.
not always possible in the community. We thrive on good food and different kind of delicacies as Indian
Yeah.
community. And Indian food probably is like, it's very healthy food in a cooked in not so healthy way most of the time, right? So I
What
mean,
does it
that's how
mean?
I
What did
yeah,
you mean
that's
by
how
that?
I see it. So I mean, you have all these nice vegetables and things, then you fry it up, right? So,
Hmm.
and not too much of boiled or stew kind of food. We curry it up, a lot of spices and things. Maybe some
Hmm.
spices are good, but you also add like oil. Like in the northeastern part of India, like you'll cook fish with fried deep in mustard oil, right?
Hmm.
So that, and you can just probably bake the fish. So
Hmm.
some people have variations of cooking the same way, like, but baking it before, not actually frying it in mustard oil. So, but the classical way of doing it is deep fry in mustard oil,
Yeah.
then put into a curry. So
That's what tastes good.
exactly, taste matters.
Taste matters. Right? Right? We are sensory beings. Right? We have five senses and we got to entertain those senses, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And because baked fish, I don't know. I just can't survive baked fish. You want to punish me? Fine, give me baked fish.
Right. Yeah, deep fried fish definitely tastes good.
Yeah, yeah. Terrific. So what kind of volumes were you running? I mean, marathons, you're probably looking at 30, 40 miles. You gets you across a marathon line. Now,
Right.
in a matter of 2 years, did your training volumes also go up significantly?
Well, I'm not a volume guy, right? So
Hmm.
that's who I am, and I do not run too many miles. Sometimes I run volume just to be with friends, and but
Hmm.
otherwise I am not like a volume kind of person. Like, I'm more of like a thrust, a strength training,
Okay.
and more of what is it called, plyometrics kind of workout.
Hmm.
That explosiveness in a workout, right? Like jumping those boxes, doing a jump rope, and
Hmm.
and do circuit training. So which
Hmm.
basically keeps your cardio at a higher level, and at the
Hmm.
same time you kind of get very close to heat workout kind of thing.
Hmm.
And right. And so that's my baseline, and then my volume, as the training goes, will be very race specific. Like, I
Okay.
will try to really right train on surface or terrains that the race has. So I don't hesitate to travel far for that. Like, for
Hmm.
example, when I was like thinking about 200 milers in my mind, and so for training I started driving to Tahoe,
Hmm.
Lake Tahoe, and did certain sections there, and to get the terrain and get the longest kind of training I needed. So I did Tahoe TRT 165 or 170 mile all around the lake. That's as part of my training, so that before going to 200, I wanted to be in a mindset of, I wanted to have that confidence
Hmm.
that my body can take that, hours, take those many hours, and with little sleep, and also can handle the kind of terrains that a 200-mile might offer you, because 200 mile is
Mm.
long distance, and you cannot may have a complete flat, point to point, or even in a big loop, terrain. So it will
Mm.
have like really elevated or hard terrains. So I wanted to train accordingly, and I did that. So race specific training is what I'm trying to mean here,
Yeah.
not too
Okay.
much of miles.
Not too many miles. So, but what is an average
I
mile?
would,
Let's
I
say.
would, I would still. I mean, some week. I mean, very few though. Week I did run 100-mile week,
Hmm.
no, but mostly my running volume probably stays at 40 mile to sixty
Hmm.
mile. Yeah, during a
Wow.
training period. Yeah, but
Wow.
regularly that's what it would be. But I'm like sort of crazy at times. Like I will not do anything. All of a sudden, I will start doing, like, one run I'll do 30 mile, and the next day I'll
Hmm.
do another 10 or 20 mile. But that's how I am, and I can take that load because, like what I mentioned, is because of the strength training, that
Yeah.
routine that I maintain, and I'm very regular of that. I do
Mhm.
that like 6 days a week at least. So that's where probably is something, I would say commendable, that I can is helping me out, right?
Yeah. That's gold. That's gold in what you're sharing, because the the common approach to training longer run races is to keep increasing volume, right? And you know that's just that seems to be the common myth. And everyone talks about strength training, but it kind of is more of a icing. You do a couple of times a week and that's it, right? But in what you're saying is a complete different paradigm, which is very interesting, and it also gives hope, because I think you can manage and bring in those high intensity trainings even if you have a busy week with regards to work and family and
Right.
stuff like that. And if you're able to get 40, 60 miles, which takes you away from home, you're still getting ready for these kind of races. So people really want to do this. This seems to be a lot more practical in that sense.
Right. I think the key is staying in shape, as the body goes from strength, and I would say cardio perspective, right? I mean, when
Mm,
you do training, keep giving a hit to on your cardio, your lungs system is still in shape, even though you are
mm,
not doing too many miles, like 80 miles a week or something on a regular basis. So you are
yeah,
still in shape, and you are able to handle all that, climbs, downhills, easier, right?
yeah. Your lungs are in shape. I think your musculature is
Right.
strong enough to withstand that endurance, right?
Right.
And of
Right.
course your heart's probably also in great shape, because yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And so so 2 years, 2000, you're in 2016, you've done your 100 milers, and then so when did you actually determine this approach right then, or was that something that evolved over a period of time?
It's well, I think I am that way. I think from beginning, because even before coming to running, I was in combat sport,
Hmm.
and so I used to do karate and kickboxing, those sort of stuff since I was growing up, since school, and so and it had a lot of, like, intensity workouts, right? I mean, I'm
Hmm.
used to that, and it's so necessarily it kind of came to me that, maintaining that on a daily routine in a discipline was easier for me, and if I
Hmm.
don't do that, it's not normal for me. So
Hmm.
and if, like, for example, today, if I don't go to the gym and work out, and I will feel that I missed something before I sleep.
Hmm.
So that's how I had been wired, for this. So I think that helped me. And
Yeah. No, that's that's a lot of gold in in what you're sharing, right? In terms of your training approach, and how also repeatedly doing something becomes a lifestyle, and it's not necessarily something you have to force yourself to do. but probably
Right,
there is an
it becomes
initial
rather fun. It becomes rather
fun.
fun, and
Yeah,
every day you go even to push something which you haven't done before, and
yeah,
trust me, there are like numerous millions of things that you can do within a small set of workouts.
yeah,
You can do
yeah.
things differently, and you can think about evolving that for yourself. Given you are a trail runner,
Mm,
how you can probably what I would call extend a specific workout, right?
mhm. And on an average, right? How many hours do you train per week?
R- right. So I would be working out for strength minimum 1 hour to 90 minutes.
Mm,
And on some specific days, I would work out probably 2 hours.
mm,
And so minimum 60 minutes and maximum 120 minutes every day, that is.
mm.
Uh, so I would say for family, someday I would not go. Like that will be 6 days a week still,
Right.
and I will have a run going like 5 mile to 10 mile, depends on the time I have,
Right.
and yeah, so that will equates to, you can say, 90 minutes multiplied by 6, right? So that's my workout strength training on average, and plus the 1 hour run, you can think about 4 days a week or so. And then in the weekend it will be a little longer, and in the weekend if I run like a 30-mile run, then I would not be doing my strength training that day.
Mhm.
Then
So,
but Sunday I will go back to strength training again for recovery,
mm,
foam rolling. I'm big believer of foam roller. It's
okay.
poor man's massage, so it really works well.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we're looking at about 15 hours of training on an average in a week, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but sometimes I will throw in a big run. I will drive out. I will run a like a 6 hour run. So then minimum 15 hours you can say,
Yeah.
and it can go up to whatever
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
20 hours.
So,
Yeah.
so essentially, you're always ultra race ready, right? At this level, this volume of training, while you're not running as much, but
Right.
you still your volume in terms of hours is quite significant, right? So
Yeah.
you're always ready for a challenge. That's what I'm
Right.
taking.
Yeah. So yeah, I think now that I look at it as you have put it here,
Hmm.
I did not think it that way.
Hmm.
But you are right that because of the strength training that's going every day, and
Yeah.
because I'm maintaining a minimum level of strength training right there
Yeah.
as a reference, where is the baseline is, and
Hmm.
given I have some run going here and there,
Yeah.
I would think that I can probably go and do whatever I have done in the past.
Yeah.
Probably just go out and do it. I mean, I feel like that,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I need to improve my performance, then I
Hmm.
have to train
Yeah.
uh, over the past whatever I have.
Yeah.
I have
Makes
to
sense.
I have to train then, but otherwise I can probably replicate what I have
Yeah.
done if I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Terrific. No, those are great tips, and it gives a kind of a backstory of what it takes to be an ultra runner like you, right? It's doable. At the same time, it needs certain level of organizing. It needs a certain level of focus to put in these hours. You may not be running uh, volumes out there, but
Right.
the way you're doing it is amazing, because I also feel this is a little bit more injury proof as well, because it's making you strong, and you're not out there like a crazy guy running, hundreds of miles every week, putting a lot of stress to your body. Right? That's another thing that I'm kind of taking in the way you'd
Right. The
approach this.
muscular system will support you against injury.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
if you are keeping the muscles in shape
yeah,
to continue. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
Makes
also like
sense.
for somebody who is aging beyond 40, say I'm 48, 49,
Hmm.
and if you do not strength train, it's not possible to get the strength you need um, of doing a 100 or 200 miler
Yeah,
just like that. You have to keep your muscles in place by working them out so that they can support you during an extreme endurance activity like that.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess it also has an impact in your ability to metabolize food, right? Because the more muscular you are, the more rested metabolic rate is high,
That
and
is correct.
therefore you're also burning calories more efficiently. Therefore,
Yeah,
energy availability is also is a natural thing. I mean, all of these play a role, right? When you actually go out and do these kind of things, because it's not just one parameter; it's just a combination of many parameters that come together, right?
absolutely. That's rightly said. Yeah.
Right. And what about how does so that's terrific. I mean, that's a great lifestyle, by the way. That's a great lifestyle. What about mental health? How does it help you or affect you mentally? Do you feel tired? Do you feel great? Um, you know, what's your views on that?
Yeah, I would say that I would not feel tired mentally from the endurance perspective of it. Like
Mm,
if I'm in a 100-mile run, somehow it's so much fun being out
yeah.
there that the mind is actually not tired in that
Mm,
specific aspect. So that's what I would say. When the mental tiredness comes, probably whenever you are doing, your daily activity stuff that we need to do, we must do as family person. It's not
mm,
easy maintaining both these things
yeah.
together, right? Because running is very simple. You put your legs back and, I mean, keep forward and you keep going. You eat and you climb and you go down, and it's very easy and it gives you happiness, right? But life is not so simple, right? I mean,
Mm,
in family life, I mean, there are so many aspects. Kids, you have friends, you have maintained, and all relationships have to be maintained. Otherwise, they
yeah.
are not there, right? So maintenance of relationship, and at the same time, doing all the nitty gritties of daily life, be it grocery, be it house maintenance, be it plumbing, be it whatever, right? All these things are probably harder than running, as the
Yeah.
mental aspects of it go, right? I mean, mind
Mm,
is definitely affected by all these different things, and this running comes as a rescue for the mind.
mm,
Keep it healthy and keep a balance and make you do the life's things better.
right.
So it's kind of
Right.
complements it. So that's how I would put it.
Yeah, yeah. So your wife is happy that you're doing these things because you're more available in real sense, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
not fun when you come back for a really long run and you are a vegetable and you are lying down on a sofa. And so it's not fun then.
yeah.
But that's the as a part of this whole thing I'm trying to bid. I
Mm,
don't want to be lying down like that.
mm, mhm.
And I tell you, if you maintain a good strength training routine, good food habit, nutrition on the dot,
Yeah,
you will have soreness and pain, but you will not be like dead without energy. You will
yeah,
still have energy left for daily life. I think
yeah.
that's important, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the other thing is that I mean there is the mind, but there's also the brain, right?
Right, right.
So the brain apparently is the biggest consumer of calories in our body, and so when you are out there physically active, you're also depriving the brain of some calories, so that leads to exhaustion. I mean, that's where you have things,
Mhm.
people going unconscious, and hallucinations, because your brain's not
Right,
getting enough sugar or
right.
ketones or whatever that is.
Hmm.
So so there is that aspect, right? And I think that's where your nutrition plays a role, and eating certain kinds of food that
Right.
helps you balance out the whole thing. And I think from what you're saying, right, if you're doing this consistently, then you become strong. You're just not fit aerobically, but you're a strong, fit
Hmm. Hmm.
individual.
Right.
Functionally fit is the word,
Yeah,
that
functional fitness.
functional
Exactly, that's the
fitness,
word.
right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So if your wife wants you to lift some heavy stuff from the garage and move it to the to the
Right,
driveway, you're
right.
there, right? You're not
Yeah,
like saying, "Oh, I can't do it." It's like, yeah, okay, I'm
I
here,
tell
I
you,
can do
that
it.
helps.
Yeah, 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 totally, totally. So that's awesome. So coming back and kind of fast forward, let's get to 2021. What an year, right? Four 200 milers. And, when the first time I heard somebody doing a Moab 240, I was like, really? People actually run that long? And here I am talking to someone who's done it four times, Cocodona, the Moab, the Tahoe 200, the Bigfoot 200. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so
Let's get
so let
into.
me like make it appropriate a little bit. The Tahoe 200 was not official last year. It
Okay.
was a virtual race,
Okay.
and apparently that turned out to be harder than the actual Tahoe 200, because I know the Tahoe
Mm.
trails, but because it
Mm.
had to be done virtually with the help of community, and it was a great race overall, and we raised fund for Cal Fire during it, so things were right in place, and it helped. But it was not the official Tahoe 200
Mm.
last
Okay.
year.
So is this the triple crown? Which is the triple crown? Which of the three make the triple crown?
The Tahoe 200, of course, but that was
Mhm.
official virtual Tahoe 200,
Right. Right.
so
Right. Okay.
it goes in there, and then
Right.
Moab 240, and then Bigfoot
Mm.
200.
Okay. And talking about a virtual 200, so where did you get those miles? How did you manage to get 200 miles? How did you chart that if you had to do it virtually?
Right, it was interesting. So many people do it different way. Like they go
Mm.
actual. Some people might even go to Tahoe and do it there, right? And then
Mhm.
you have to take your own crew there and do stuff, right? But for me, I wanted to just do locally where people can engage, and also at the same time be part of it, like
Mm.
and I wanted to bring the community together and do things together, make it more fun for everyone, everybody
Sure.
chip in their own miles too at the same time while I'm doing
Mm.
it. So that was my plan. So we have Mission Peak, which is about 2200 feet, and in 3 miles it goes about that much climb. And so I wanted to kind of do sort of like a climb a lot in the beginning,
Mhm.
like so I did about, I think, 29,000 plus feet verticals in the first, I think, 75 miles, and that was
Mm.
only repeat of Mission Peak, up and down, basically.
But that's Everesting for you,
uh, well, so yeah, it's
almost.
called Everesting. It's like a very silly term in a way, because people cannot really do Everesting here. I mean, you need to do
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
altitude and all that. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did not want to mention that term.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So that's Everest height you get
Yeah.
without sleeping,
Mm.
and once you have that, and I wanted to actually do two of that together, and I failed miserably. And I just I thought, okay, I'm done here, not sleeping. So I ran from there after finishing that part, 75 miles and that much of part. I ran to home,
Uh-huh.
and at home I took rest, of course, because you can
Mhm.
take rest in 200, so it was official
Okay.
that way. So yeah, I took rest at home, and then what I did, oh yeah, it was night, so I just there is this neighborhood block, and did about 50 kilometer or whatever, going around the block.
Mhm.
And during all these activities, I had our whole community. We have a
Okay.
community, we name it Sage. And basically it's a daisy,
Yeah. Yeah.
primarily
Shades.
the
Yeah.
name
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
family Sage.
I'm a part of it now in the Facebook group.
Yeah, right. I mean, and there is another part of it, Shades of Brown. Okay, so
Okay.
all right. So there is this community. So this community helped me a lot. My family helped me. My friends,
Mm.
and friends beyond the community also came in, really helped the local people. And then I did all these rounds and rounds around my head, just around my neighborhood block.
Mm.
And then I got some distance there, like 50 kilometer. And then following that, there is this Mount Hamilton. There is
Mhm.
this lake observatory that's like about 4,000 feet altitude, in my not in my neighborhood really. It's about 25, 26 miles from my home to the top of it. So
Mhm.
then I climbed that and came back down, and then finished the rest of about 20 miles left, and that I did in the local Elam Rock Park. and
Mm.
and and it was done like 200.0 whatever mile. I mean, I did not do any mile more than the 200 miles, just because it's hard staying home. You want to go back to home and sleep. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's easier on the race course, but when you are near your home, your mind keeps telling you,
Your
hey,
mind.
just stop this and go home and
Yeah.
sleep, eat your favorite food, watch TV or something, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was hard. And also, like, in between, you have some life's work too, like you are at home, so we are
Mm.
expected to take the garbage out, right? I mean, when you were
That's the functional fitness I was talking about.
right, so you are taking break, but you are taking the garbage out. You don't do this thing in a race course, right?
That's funny. A wife's
So
like,
that's how
hey,
it
that's all.
happened, and it was fun.
Wife's like, that's all good. You're doing 200 milers, but hey, this is just like half, few yards. Just take it and go. Okay, don't complain.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't need to be asked for that. I will just do it, take it as a training. But I wish I wear my watch and get to the mileage of the 200s, but unfortunately not.
So all this 200 milers, yeah, you need to do it within a certain time window, correct?
That
Even
is
in the
correct.
virtual. And what is
Even in the
that?
virtual, even in the
Right.
virtual, in the
What's the time
virtual,
limit?
I think in the virtual they gave you 110 hours. Yeah.
Okay,
And
110
actually it will
hours.
be 100 hours, because
100
knowing
hours.
the logistic of the stuff, they gave 10 more hours more, and I did about 105 hours.
So
I
it's
did not
four
want to
days.
push them. Yeah, it's 4 days. Yeah,
4 days, right?
4 days
So
actually. Mhm.
so in 4 days you need to do 200 miles.
Right.
And so does it give you does it allow you time to sleep at all
Oh,
with
it
this kind of
does.
time? It
It
does.
does, because in a virtual, you don't have cutoffs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I created my cutoff because, in terms of sleep, because
Hmm.
I that's why I put that Everesting term in there, right? You cannot sleep until you finish that vert of
Right.
30 to 29,000 plus feet. So yeah,
Got it.
that was harder than a regular 200, because you have to cover
Hmm.
that much of vert without sleeping and without really stopping.
Hmm.
I mean, you can eat food, stop and eat food, but not really real rest. You cannot rest, like if
So
it's.
even the vert is prescribed. So if you want to do a virtual, they tell you not the distance alone, but also the vert. You
Oh
need to
yeah.
cover that
So
vert.
distance was BART was required about, I think, 30, 35,000 or 33,000 feet.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I got
Wow.
about 37 or 38,000 feet BART, I think.
Wow. And this is all on your, you're measuring all of this in your Garmin or one of
Yeah,
those.
that is the key. You have to have a measuring device with you, like a
Hmm.
GPS device. And
Okay.
that must not malfunction. If it malfunctions, you do all over again.
Wow. That is amazing, Biplab. I mean, that is quite amazing. I mean, that's like unimaginable, right? To be able to do 200 milers, it requires a different level of motivation and discipline because, like you said, you're coming back home, you see the bed, you just don't want to get back into the race. It's a
Right.
different level of discipline, right? And you said you involved the community, so there were people running with you in these different segments. Is that
Right,
how you're
right. Yeah,
involving them?
many
Okay.
people paced me during it, and in fact, my friend, Pradeep, so he in fact carried one big ice bag with him to support
Hmm.
me during one climb. It was very hot. It was like,
Wow.
that's at that time of the year when it was hot, and it was hot, and he he actually carried a big bag of ice. I put it on my head and legs and stuff when we took a break in between while climbing. So that's just one example of how the
Yeah.
community came together and helped me out, and without the community, this would have been impossible, basically.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. And was so this was not your first 200 miler. This was your uh, third one, right? This September we're talking about, and you had done the Cocodona by then in May.
That is correct. I did Cocodona and Bigfoot by that time, I think.
Right, right. So you had a sense of what it takes to do a 200 miler.
Right, I had that sense, but what I did not have is having home nearby, how difficult it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
that was,
conditions
yeah,
conditions
yeah.
matter, right?
Right, right,
So let's dial back a little bit and get into the Cocodona 250. That was your first, right?
right.
And the first 200 plus miler that you ran. How was that to do doing it for the first time?
Yeah. So I planned very well for that race,
Hmm.
and also on top of that, we three of us went together, like Kaushik, Pradeep, and me, and we had a great crew team, Himagiri and Paban.
Yeah.
So they were our crew, and
All three have been on my podcast. Hima, uh, Hima, Pradeep, and this guy, uh,
Kaushik, right?
Kaushik. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, you will have Pavan someday as well. He just ran
Yes.
a splendid sub 3 marathon recently.
Wow. Yeah. We should bring him in to complete the picture.
Sure. So here's this thing. Yeah. So they were all there, and I had no plan of going there really. This primarily Kausik and Pradeep were running, and one day Kausik and
Hmm.
me were like, like running up Mission Peak just as a regular run, and he told me about Cocodona. Then I told him maybe I can come in because I felt ready because I had the training in my legs at that time, and I thought maybe I can come in. And then about 2 weeks before the race, actually I signed up, I think, and 2 or max 4 weeks. I'd not be surprised if it is 2 weeks. And
That's
so I got
great.
in. Eh, Yeah, like I said, I wanted to be in shape, so I was in shape, I thought, and so I signed up, and then I plan very well normally for big races. I mean, I'll
Hmm.
have all my drop bags, everything level, right in place, all food strategies. There will be apples and tangerines also in my drop bag. So basically, that really helped. When in big
Oh,
climbs, I'll take out an apple and start munching it and start climbing. So that's one of my things, because you know what, that fruit has the sugar as well. It helps the brain.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So otherwise, at some point of time of your big races, long races, you cannot have much sugar, and you
Hmm.
only can get through a good fruit like an apple or something,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So yeah, so that sort of stuff I planned it well, and I went there, and apparently it was my first 200. I realized, okay, so I took things very seriously, everything, like,
Hmm.
and also I did not have a pacer, but I had crew.
Hmm.
So I wanted to make sure that I take help from the crew right on time before this before or after our other runners, because
Hmm.
we don't want to load the crew, right?
Hmm.
So that was also in the strategy, to time it, arrive at a specific aid station where crews are there, and plan it right. And
Hmm.
accordingly I tried to move it and spaced it out, and also I had a great strategy. I think I said great because it really worked for me in all the
Hmm.
four the 200s that I did. The sleep strategy, so I try to
Hmm.
take about 2 hours of sleep in 24 hours, and
Okay.
so that kind of worked well for me.
Hmm.
and and irrespective of anything, I mean, whenever I'm like, my sleep aid station is coming, means I'm very excited because I'll be able to sleep. So I get there
Yeah.
immediately. I have my sleeping bag in my drop bag, I pull it out, I'm inside the sleeping bag, boom, I ate something and
Boom.
slept. And it's very funny how these sleeping tents are right in 200s. Sometimes you may be sleeping near somebody's feet which is smelling and all that, but you are so tired,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, you just
Yeah.
sleep. And 2 hours alarm, you get up, and then get up, and I will treat my feet with epsom salt and water. I also have that stuff in my drop bag. I'll have a box,
Hmm.
and then I'll get some warm water, I'll put epsom salt and treat my feet, get into a new pair of shoes, eat,
Hmm.
and boom, you are out from there. So this is a kick for me, getting this whole
Hmm.
routine in place in an aid station, kind of. It all set up in Cocodona, and then after, all I did was I was repeating this in the next
Right.
a few 200s, whatever I did.
Right. Right. That's quite amazing. What about blisters? I mean, do you deal with blisters in these kind of runs?
So, Santosh, so what I do is, like, I take care of my feet. Okay,
Hmm.
I go to pedicure, like women go to pedicure,
Hmm.
like the same way I
Yeah.
go to salons for pedicure, and
Hmm.
because you have to treat your
Yeah.
feet, because
Hmm.
all your life you are standing on your feet, right?
Yeah.
And you do, and how much weight the feet bears, so they need
Hmm.
maximum TLC, right? The feet. And I make sure I take care of my feet during the race, even before race, or even in regular time of my life, right?
Hmm.
And that helps me stay blister free. Actually, I don't have blisters.
Wow.
I don't get blisters, basically. And I
Wow.
hope I don't jinx it, but
Yeah.
so far had
Knock
been
on
good.
wood. Yeah,
It
yeah.
had been good. Yeah.
That's quite amazing because that's one thing that I read about a lot for these 100 milers and 200 milers, people dealing with blisters. And people also put those pictures on, on Facebook and
Yeah,
social media and like,
sure.
whoa, that looks quite bad. So that's
So
so
basically, here
according
is
to you.
prevention. I was talking
Mhm.
about prevention. Basically,
Yeah,
just be proactive about blister management. It's not like what you need to do during the blister or after the
yeah.
blister. It's about prevention of that very problem, right? I mean, and that's
So
what
how is
I
it?
try to
What are
help
you
with.
doing? What are you doing to prevent it?
So if you keep doing your, so basically, why blister forms, right? I mean,
Hmm.
because you cannot air your, that certain part of the foot. It could be hot
Hmm.
spot, right?
Hmm.
And apparently, and if you have like the hard surfaces on your feet, that's not good,
Hmm.
right? That's the very like susceptible. That's the area where you will get blister from. So if you keep your feet like nice and soft, nimble, and
Hmm.
you will not get blister. So how do you
Hmm.
do that? So basically, it's easier to do that by Epsom salt treatment. If you put your feet in Epsom salt and water and you rub it on the harder surfaces, eventually harder surfaces go away,
Hmm.
and it keeps your feet in properly blood circulated. That's the key. So having the blood
Wow.
circulation in that area of the skin is important, right? And that's you can do at home. That's home remedy or
Yeah.
home proactive prevention of blister. But the other thing you can do, you can go to a salon where you can do pedicure at a regular basis, maybe once a month, and they will do the right thing for your nails and stuff. They will clean up
Hmm.
the corners, right? And they will cut it right, and because
Yeah.
you don't want to have your nails growing into the flesh, and that will create problem whenever you are running regularly, right? and
Hmm.
and those sort of stuff. And also overall they will do a similar thing like you do at home, like for with Epsom salt they will do a similar thing, but they will do it professionally, right? And
Yeah.
do it, they do a better job. So this is what I do, and this had been working for me well.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that is so valuable. I mean, that's so much gold, right? I never. I mean, I don't run ultras like you do, but I run and never really taking care of feet as an important aspect of running. I mean, what you're saying is makes complete sense. And I think if people are listening to this, this probably is. If there's one thing you want to take back as a runner into your lifestyle, we talk about nutrition, we talk about training, everyone talks about it, but this is definitely something very unique. And yeah, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. So, kind of maybe a slightly different issue, but something like plantar fasciitis, right?
Right.
In your view or in your experience, does the level of taking care of feet that you're doing, does it also has it also helped you keep feet strong and away from something like plantar?
That will help partially if you do that for plantar fasciitis, but plantar
Hmm.
fasciitis probably um, um, you have to get rid of the scar tissues in within your feet, right? The
Hmm.
scar tissues that builds over time because of lack of you know taking care of the foot.
Hmm.
The scar tissues will develop, so you have to break down your scar tissues on probably on a regular basis. And at least in the beginning, like
Yeah.
so what happens normally, like when somebody starts to run, in the first few years scar tissues will build up, and
Hmm.
eventually you have to take care of them. And the best way to take care of them is probably, I did like, whenever I was in my fourth or fifth year of running, I had plantar fasciitis, right? And I, what I did was I will put some oil on my feet and I will rock my feet with a spoon,
Hmm.
the edge of a spoon. I just try to break down those scar tissues, and you will know, you will hear crackling sound coming out of your feet if you have
Hmm.
scar tissues, and you will break those down, tear them apart, and eventually they will go out in the blood flow, and eventually you will be pain free. So basically, once you get up in the morning, you step your foot on the floor. If you have scar tissues in your feet, you will feel pain, and that
Yeah.
eventually probably leads to, I mean, I'm not a doctor, I mean, this is just only from my experience, all
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
should be taken with that caution.
Yes.
um,
Yes.
right? So and that probably builds into scar tissue, build into something like plantar fasciitis or something. So,
Mm.
but thing is, once I took care of my scar tissues with the method that I just described,
Mhm.
I did not have any plantar fasciitis problem then
Mm.
after.
Mm.
It's just
Mm.
gone. And I would
Yeah.
expect that every runner who are into their fourth or fifth year of running should not
Yeah.
have plantar fasciitis anymore. It should go away.
That is well said. I mean, I like that method. I'm going to try it. I've been dealing with some plantar fasciitis now after like 12, 13, 14 years of running. Never happened to me before. But I think what you said makes sense. Scar tissue is probably the culprit over there. No, that's those are great. I love it. I love it, Bipul. I think this whole focus on feet care is something we don't talk about, and I'm glad we're talking about it in this podcast. It's a game changer. That's really a huge game changer for us as runners. So thanks for sharing your wisdom on that. Terrific. So, well, that's Cocodona. With all this, you got the Cocodona done. Then next was Bigfoot, right? So,
Right.
and that was like in August, right? So May was Cocodona. We're looking at June, July, August. In 3 months, you're back in the mountains again, doing Bigfoot. How did that go?
Yeah, it was interesting how I got into Bigfoot. I mean, I had no plan of doing all these 4 200s actually. It just happened because I
Hmm.
was not of sure entry in some of those. Like Bigfoot was one of that, and I forgot about registering that race. I wanted to do it, but I forgot to register. But eventually got into waitlist, and eventually with some back and forth email and all that with the RD, I really helped out, and I got in. And
Yeah.
yeah, and
I don't
Bigfoot
think he
was
probably
hard.
has too many people bothering him to get him into a 200-mile race.
It's actually her. It's Candice Bart. She's the owner of the Destination Trail
Okay.
and runs these races. Yeah, and greatly done, of course.
Hmm.
Well, so yeah, so Bigfoot probably was the hardest of the four.
Mhm.
And going out there, the mountains, the climbs, and the
And where
ruggedness
is
of the
Bigfoot?
trail.
So I know
It's in
Cocodona for the
Washington,
listeners is Arizona, right?
right?
Back Bigfoot is where? I'm sorry.
It's in Washington, the Cascade Mountains.
Okay,
It
okay,
starts
with you.
in that Helena, the volcanic park,
Hmm.
and it starts from there and ends in a small town called Randall.
Hmm.
Beautiful race, amazing vistas and views, and great
Hmm.
streams, a great forest like Likitat. It's an awesome race, but it's a hard race, very hard race. It doesn't have
Hmm.
too much altitude, but it has got a lot of climbs, and I think it's my most favorite out of the four.
Hmm.
And yeah, and going in there was like Nilay was also with me. We went there
Hmm.
together. We had great fun in that race, running in the glaciers. Awesome.
Wow. So one thing I always wondered, right? Hiking versus running these beautiful mountains. Are you able to actually take in the scenery while you're running versus if you're hiking? Um,
Right, so I'm a runner, like I run for kicks.
hmm.
Okay, not for views. Okay, so people
Hmm.
will hate me for saying that, but that's who I am. But you know what? When your run gets hard and you
Hmm.
have no other option but to enjoy the views,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you are dealing with some problems and you have to take your mind off, and
yeah,
the
yeah,
views help.
yeah. Makes sense.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
that's very
so
honest and authentic. I think that's very honest because I personally, when I run in trails, I just can't focus on the trails because I'm focusing on the ground below,
right.
especially in Texas where there's all kinds of things on the trail.
Sure,
You don't
sure.
know, right? So I've never enjoyed a trail, the scenery as much. When I stop, yes, when you stop and you, like you said, I think that's being very honest. You stop, you want to take a breath in. That's when you enjoy the views. Makes complete
Absolutely.
sense.
But the streams, I love streams, stream crossing
Yeah.
in runs, and getting your, like, feet shoes, all the whole leg
Yeah,
part.
yeah,
If it can go
yeah,
into the
yeah.
streams, it really helps cooling off, and those kind of stuff. And talking of Bigfoot, it's a great race from
Mm,
that perspective, natural beauty and all. But at the same time, it has got specific trails which are really scary, I would say.
mm,
Yeah, pretty challenging. And I misjudged one of the areas with the weather, so I did not carry my. That was a rookie mistake. Did
mm,
not carry my rain jacket, so I got into the rain like a real. It came all of a sudden. It was dark,
mm,
and and there were a lot of fallen trees on the trail.
mm.
So so crossing them and in the rain, and it was very hard for me. And it's like it's like thousands of fallen trees, and like huge
Wow,
which spikes on those trees basically. I mean,
wow.
and the trail was narrow. Once or twice I slipped off, and I could hold the three spikes to keep myself in the trail. So
Wow.
and at some point got almost close to hypothermic, because I had no rain jacket. It was a lot of, but I had a BV. I took the BV out, could wear the BV, making a hole for the face, and having
Mm,
all my the whole body inside the BV and moving very slowly.
mm,
So, and I think that was the hardest moment of my trail running. And it was like several miles for about 4 or 5 hours, I think. It was pretty scary, very slow moving in slippery surface, and at the same time
wow.
climbing, and eventually getting into the aid station. I was very close to hypothermic, and everybody helped in there, and my friend Nila was there as well, and he helped me out a lot in there. And that was probably my lowest moment in trail
Mm,
running in general. So I took a nap right after, and next day morning I was really fresh and finished the race, running throughout from there to the finish. And so that's something I wanted to share here,
yeah.
that if you are doing this kind of race, either be prepared for moments like that. And but it is I mean, if you're strong in your mind, you will get out of it and finish the
Mm,
race and do not DNF basically.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. And you mentioned the VV. What's a VV?
It's that aluminum foil VV, right? VIVY, I think. So it's for sheltering, and whenever you are in distress, to keep your body warm, right? You can
Okay.
in camping people use pretty often.
Got it.
It's something, you know, that aluminum blanket, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
Got it. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
aluminum, it is basically a more enclosed form of the aluminum blanket
Mm,
that can keep your body warm. You can sleep in the woods, or even if it's rain, you can sleep, and it will keep you dry and warm in the cold.
mm, mm. Okay.
It's as light as a aluminum foil blanket, aluminum blanket, space blanket, I mean. Mhm.
Wow. And you talked about mental strength, right? With regards to Bigfoot. So, what is mental strength for you?
So basically, at some point, y- it's a challenge for you, right? I mean,
Mm,
the art, the trail, the race, the course
mm,
is kind of giving you really hard time,
mm,
and it's not letting you pass over
mm,
it, right? I mean, you wanted to get somewhere, and it's fighting against you. And at that point of time, like, you were in a rebellion. Well, I would fight this and want to get there, right?
mm,
And if you are weak in the mind, thinking that, oh my god, I cannot do this, I am like weak,
mm,
I cannot go over it, although so much to climb, I cannot do it, I will rather press the SOS button and get out of it, right? So
mm,
basically it's a matter of your mind, whether you press that SOS button,
mm.
or you really want to go over it and be successful reaching the point where you want to go, right?
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So it's almost like what you're saying. If were to just, from what I'm hearing is mental strength is just the ability not to give up at a given
Right,
point, right?
right,
The length to which you can stay in the game
right,
and not give up. I guess that defines mental strength. The faster you press the SOS, that's sign of mental. weakness in a way, right?
Right. Also, it will be probably it's also related to your how much hunger you have to do
Mm,
something, right? That's also important. If you are very hungry to succeed at something, you are very motivated, and
mm,
I think that will also drive the mind to the degree of to that level that you can actually go for anything. So that hunger is related, but in general, hunger may be forgotten if you are in a really distressed situation, and
mm,
then the mind, if the mind is weak, right? you
mm,
you have to go through such situation and judge yourself, that and also at the same time, I must say, you have to judge the situation. Sometimes you should be smart enough to judge the situation, right? I mean, if you are fallen from a trail down somewhere in the gulf, and I don't think there is anything anything to do about mental strength there. It's a
mm.
matter of survival at that moment, and you press the SOS button at that time.
Yeah, makes sense. No, that makes a lot of sense, because that was another question that I had is, at what point do you know something is stupid versus being courageous?
Right.
Where does that line, and how do you know it, right? And I think you answered that question too. Just having that sense and wisdom to differentiate real danger from perceived danger, and I
Right.
guess all of that comes through training and practice. When you're out there doing training and practice, you're developing some of these wisdom. I guess, right?
Yeah.
Terrific. All right. So we talked about Bigfoot, and then October you went and we talked about the virtual. So August you're doing Bigfoot. September you're doing the virtual Tahoe, and then October you're doing Moab 240. It's like in 3 months flat. What's going on? How did that happen?
Yeah, it was interesting how I wanted to do Moab, basically because three were done, and then like the Moab was remaining at that point. Okay, I mean, why don't I just go and do Moab as well? And so I talked to my wife, and hey, you know what, I have done these three, and also took help from my friend Neil, that kind of ask him to talk to my wife. Hey, you know what?
Put in a recommendation.
Yeah, put in a recommendation that finish it off with all the four, right? We're family people, very hard to get race approval. So that's how I got into Moab, and Moab I wanted to do it alone. That
Hmm.
is one thing, without anybody around. Because that's the one thing I wanted to. I tell my friends, or tell our community, that doing a 200 miler alone is a different experience.
Hmm.
For 4 days, you're out there alone doing a tough job with no help from anywhere. Just, of course, you're taking help from the aid station, that's different, but otherwise you're alone, right? No pacer, no crew, and so that is what also I wanted to experience, and Moab gave me that. And I was happy to finish Moab, and I love the course overall. In From toughness perspective, I love Bigfoot, but
Hmm.
from a course and a race perspective in general, if I want to do it again, Moab it is, and I want to
Wow.
go out there and enjoy the trails, because there the beauty of the rocks and the formations, everything is so surreal. It's quite
Mhm.
different. You cannot experience that without actually running into them. You have to be on your foot and explore those areas to be able to see. So
Yeah. So I think Niloy Hima did it in 2020, correct? Or
that is
2000?
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
They did.
when I spoke to them about the Moab experience. Um, wow. So you did it in 2021. Amazing. And I saw some of those shots and pictures that Niloy and Hima had sent. Yeah, I agree with you. It's just even in the picture it looks amazing.
Right.
So I can only
Right.
we can only imagine how it must be being there in person.
Right, and the weather over there is quite dynamic, and they're just saying, "Hey, anything can happen here. It's Moab."
Hmm.
So it's so it gives you that challenge also at the same time. And weather changes. Some rain is just rain and snow. You'll
Hmm.
all of a sudden, and weather changes pretty frequently, and yeah, from that perspective, the race is very interesting.
Hmm. So, almost like four big, huge, long races. How was your body holding up? You were still doing great at the end of Moab. You were not beginning to feel it.
Well, so during Moab, I mean, I knew that there was nobody from family or friends in general over there, and so I wanted to race staying safe.
Hmm.
So eh, I wanted to race within my proper capability and limits, and I did not want to do anything crazy there. I mean, I just wanted to enjoy, and at the same time keep moving forward, and that's what exactly happened, and that went as per plan. Yeah. Yeah, so you asked me about, like, regarding like how you go from this race to another. So
Hmm.
basically, the body adapts to it, Santosh.
Hmm.
So doing these three races or four races within this amount of time, from the first to the second will be harder. But luckily for me, first to the second I had more time, but
Hmm.
second to the third to the fourth I had not too much time. But the body adapted to recover well, and
Hmm.
I was taking really good care of food and nutrition during this process. I did not want to indulge anything, except maybe like in a week or 2 weeks one beer, right? So so otherwise I took pretty much good care of the food and nutrition and the exercise routine. And the good thing is I did not need training miles in between, because
Hmm.
your last race is the training for your current race. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that worked well, and I like less training.
Yeah. Yeah. That is clear. That is clear. You're a smart about your training. So well, you're smart about it, but you still do a lot of training. I mean, I don't think I would say that you cut corners in your training. You just take a different approach to training. I mean, you're still doing
Right.
15, 16 hours of training
Right.
a week.
I am spending the time. Yeah.
So that is a significant amount of investment in training you do anyway. So but yeah, but I think you're doing it smart, so that's the key here, right?
All right. Thank you.
So at this level of fitness, what's your rested heart rate? You must be like in your 40s.
Well, it used to be below 40s at some time back when I measured, like
Hmm.
39 or something like that. But now probably it will be between 40 and 45, because the way I feel I can tell, but I
Yeah.
haven't measured in several couple of years.
Hmm. And do you also measure things like heart rate variability and things like that? Do you keep an eye on that?
I started training lately looking at heart rates,
Hmm.
and trying to go more aerobic training, because that's seemingly helping. Like, recently I ran a marathon, like after 5 years actually.
Hmm.
Like in April, I think I ran a marathon. Yeah, and so in that training period, I indulged in aerobic training, trying to
Hmm.
run below 140 heart rate,
Hmm.
and maintaining, and eventually pace got better and better under 140. But initially it was bad, and eventually I could run easy runs under 140. So that helped. So from then onwards, now, like, I am like looking more towards closed loop training with heart rate as the parameter.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And the kind of ultras you do, right? Really long hours on your feet, all alone, especially something like Moab. Do you think ultra runners also have spiritual experiences? What's your view on that? Have you had spiritual experiences in these kind of runs?
Yes, so I think it depends on the person how they
Hmm.
look at the run.
Hmm.
If you let go, you will experience spirituality from your run,
Hmm.
right? So normally, after about 40 miles or so in a run, I don't get anything really spiritual necessary up to 50K. But once
Hmm.
I run a 50 mile or something, I think for me the chemical changes starts happening like after 40 miles or so, so that you can get into that spiritual
Yeah.
exploration cave of your brain or mind. Yes, I normally connect to my mother, who is deceased,
Hmm.
who I lost her in 2008.
Mm.
and she was like 54 or something at that
Mm.
time. And so, and I connect to her, and that's the kind of spirituality, and that's spiritual for me. And
Mhm.
I feel her presence,
Mm.
and I can talk to her. I cry a lot in that
Mm.
moment, and miles of like emotion and tears.
Yeah.
And once that phase is over, I'm like a completely new runner. I'm like, I really really feel good. Like,
Yeah.
say, next, so for example, mile 40 started about mile up to mile 45. I don't even know how mile 45 went. And
Mm.
not and that and I that got very fast. I became faster in that section. And that's what I had been experiencing in all my runs. And this happens, and in 200 milers that same phase keep coming back several times. And that's
Mm.
what I am so hooked to it as well. It
Yeah.
keeps coming back, it keeps coming back. Mile 40, maybe mile 80, it comes back again mile 120. When that comes, I know that after that's over, I'm again will be new me. And
Yeah.
it helps me a lot. and
Yeah.
and and,
So.
and all of a sudden I started appreciating more nature after
Mm.
that. And I started appreciating my relationships. I started appreciating my friends, my community. My gratefulness increases. And you know what,
Mm.
whenever somebody is grateful, they're happier, right? Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, non-grateful
Yes.
people
Beautiful.
are unhappy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and then you are a happy runner,
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of runner I get. That's
Yeah.
slightly different. And once I also experienced hallucination, and that was in Moab. I think
Mm.
mile 220 or something. It's a long stretch patch, a long stretchy road, and like prehistoric creatures all came out live in front of me.
Really.
And that
Wow.
I experienced in Moab, and that went on for several miles until I lost track of the original course. I went off course, and my watch started beeping, beep beep beep. Then all of a sudden I woke up from that world, and then I came back down and found the right course. So that's
Wow.
hallucination experience for me.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I mean that's beautiful, and whatever you shared from a spiritual experience point of view is so deep and so beautiful, and I can't imagine why how you can escape it. In when you're doing those kind of long endurance activities in nature. That's this is the prize. This is the prize, and this is what monks and the sages go to Himalayas and for years to achieve. And so it's very important. I mean, there's a sect of monks in Japan that actually makes these 1,000-mile runs in the
Right, I heard
mountains as a
about
part
them.
of their uh, what's that word? Incubate or onboarding. So what next?
So this year I'm planning like not too many races like last year. I'm planning to run the Ure race, Ure in Colorado. It's a
Mm,
Ure 100 miler is my plan. And then after I have the Tor, the Tor de Gens, in it's in Italy. It's
mm,
a 330-kilometer race. It's 200 plus, I think, in miles. And that have a lot of birds, like verticals, like 82,000 feet verticals. So I have
wow.
to train a lot. And and regarding experience of that kind of race, I ran UTMB in 2019, so I have
Mm,
some know-how of those trails. But UTMB is what, 34,000 feet vert over 100 miles, and this
mm,
one is like over 200 miles, about 82,000 particles. So
wow.
and maybe more, some people say. And so different, similar but different, kind of race. And it's 200 miler, so that's my kind of favorite racing distance today.
Hmm.
And so looking forward for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I started training. I'm like more like specific towards climbs and stuff, in the gym, working out. I have kind of reorganized my training routine.
Mm.
And and yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Wish you continued success and continued uh, you know um, joy in what you're doing. Obviously, um, I mean, I love the conversation. People, there's so much depth to what you bring to the table in terms of your experience and what you've captured. And foot care, man, that's a big takeaway.
Thank you,
Foot
thank
care.
you.
If
If it
there's one
helps,
thing you can
great.
take away from this podcast, foot care it is. Awesome. So, hey, we covered a fair bit of ground, and we spent time in your past, your flashback, and spent a good amount of time on some technical aspects of running and endurance sports, and then of course your the big runs last year. Coming to a last part of our conversation, I have a fun Q&A round with my guests. So you ready for that?
All right. Worried a
Some
little bit, but fire away.
All right. So first one, what's your favorite dessert?
Kulfi.
Kulfi. Nice. Is that something you also consume during the ultras?
During ultras, ice cream because
Ice
kulfi is
cream.
hard to find. Uh,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
of course.
I had a lot of
Yeah,
ice cream in Cocodona last time. Hima brought to me every time.
yeah. Sugar and protein, man. That's and fat. So hey, that's a health food for ultras. The most offensive thing someone has said about your running ultras.
Nobody has said such thing to me.
No,
People are
nothing
pretty
has
nice.
offended you so far, or maybe
No,
even if
no,
they have said nothing has offended you.
no. It's they all love me. They will never say
Hmm.
anything offensive.
Yeah, not your friends, but like sometimes when you meet some stranger or acquaintance, just casual social conversation, you could get some very funny questions, or you could get some remarks that can be not offensive, but it can be like, did he say that?
Well, okay, I would say then. Okay, so I mean, many of my friends think I'm a like a really excessive dreamer in terms of dreamer. I mean,
Yeah,
dreaming
yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of planning my races or my training. And some said even like you're the Mungeri Lal, right? You know that Mungeri Lal ke Hasin Sapne, that
Yeah,
serial.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So I mean, relevant to that, but they all say that just for fun, and
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
take it with a lighter note, and it helps me rather that I should not dream too much and be realistic down to the
Yeah,
ground, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. Cool. Yeah. It seems like nothing much offends you. So, a passion other than ultras, when you're not doing ultras and training for ultras, anything that you love to do.
I like to listen to good quality music,
Hmm.
like I'm an audiophile,
Hmm.
so I like quality reproduction of good music.
Hmm. Any particular genre or band or musician that is
Yeah, I
your.
grew up liking like Guns N' Roses and all, like a lot of
Hmm.
heavy metal listening in the past. Like Judas Priest was my all-time favorite.
Yes.
But now, with age, I'm kind of, decoupling myself from heavy metal, and I like more like opera. Like Maria Callas
Hmm.
is my favorite opera singer.
Hmm. Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I play opera during my night runs, like in the phone speaker. I don't like headphone on the ear.
Okay.
In the nights, especially after midnight, when I'm running into the wee hours of the morning in the races, especially in the 200, I play opera primarily Maria Callas.
Nice. Nice. That's a first for me to from a runner listening to opera during running. It's nice. It's in a good way. It's
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
way.
let me tell you
Different.
this story quickly. So basically, I was descending Jacob's ladder in Moab last year, and I was playing opera. I think it was most surreal experience of my running. Listening Maria Callas and descending down Jacob's ladder. It's one section of Moab, which is pretty technical and nice, very
Mm,
beautiful, and it's fun. I definitely recommend, if there are opera lovers, play some opera and descend down Jacob's ladder in Moab 240. experience of a lifetime. And a lot of other runners who were passing by or ahead or behind me, they were appreciating as well. So that's why I am in freedom to say it was a good thing to do.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. Any wildlife encounters in your ultras so far?
Well, in 200-mile distances, I haven't encountered really like
Mm.
wildlife, but in my home park, which is Alam Rock, like I have encountered like
Mm.
mountain lions with three cubs, and it was right in 50 yards of me, and definitely the lion knows I'm there. I was with my kid as well, and they are more, sensorily advanced as compared to humans, so they know you are there, but they did not. The mountain lion did not do anything. I just backed off
Mm.
nicely, and then after also I have encountered mountain lion, but that was probably most close encounter as
Closest.
such.
Nice. Uh, a book or a movie that has inspired you?
Eat and Run, Scott Jurek.
Hmm. Do you also watch movies?
I do. I
Hmm.
was I love martial arts movies because I used to practice combat sports before, so I can see myself in it,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I like Bruce Lee movies and
Yeah.
a lot like Enter the Dragon and all that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Hey, that was thanks. You did well on the Q&A. We learned a few more things about you, so thanks for sharing that. Um, that was a fascinating conversation, Bipul. Kind of coming to the end of our chat here. Uh, any final parting words to our audience before we wrap up?
okay, I would say that do not go too hard too soon. I learned that the hard way. I'm a person like to go hard too soon, and not a good idea to do that.
Hmm. Well, yeah, you're thriving, so I don't know if someone is going to take that advice. Because I look
Well,
at him, he's
because
doing great. I want to be like him.
yeah, I mean, take that thought,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
go against it, but you know what, you have a lot of repair to do
Hmm.
that way. And it's a one thing comes with it, one advice, that starting to run at a little later age,
Hmm.
there will be some injuries will come to you. For
Hmm.
example, say IT band, shin splint, plantar
Hmm.
fasciitis, all
Hmm.
these will come to you, and when they recover they make you stronger.
Hmm.
But I don't say that go hard and get those injuries faster and recover. Kind
Yeah,
of, I do not know the consequence.
yeah, yeah. Makes sense. No, I get it. I get it. I think a great message. Be organic in your growth, and I guess that's what I'm hearing in what you're saying. Hey, that was a fantastic conversation, people, and thanks for taking a time out. Let you go and enjoy the rest of the afternoon, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you, Santos. Really privileged to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.